You're listening to Big Blend Radio's Lost Angel Travel Adventure Show with Linda Ballou, travel writer and author, and your host, Lisa Smith. Welcome, everyone. It is time for another Lost Angel Travel Adventure with Linda Ballou. She's going to be telling us about her experiences out in the Willamette Valley of Oregon. So she went to Corvallis, all in that area, very close to Portland, and she did some parks. She did some gardens that were just absolutely gorgeous. She, of course, had to go to the Willamette River. There's no way she's not going to go to the Willamette River. So you're a river rat over there, right, Linda? In Oregon. In there, at least. You touch the water, right?
Well, yeah, I have the powerful Willamette River behind me. I'm not going to be kayaking in that big river, but it goes straight through the town of Corvallis, and they have created a commemorative river walk there that is just beautiful and shady trees with the oaks and the maples and sitting areas, and they've got a playground for kids. And then every Wednesday they have a farmer's market there. And the thing about Corvallis and the Willamette Valley, I have a mental block. The Willamette Valley is that it's incredibly fertile. And I went, and it's an agricultural food basket. And I had a historical tour, and the young woman who led the tour, she basically started in the glacier age because there were three big glacier situations where there was a breaking of a glacier dam, and it flooded this valley 3 times over the course of millennium. And it dropped all these nutrients into the soil here on those, when they had these floods. So when the waters receded, then you had this very nutrient-rich soil, which produces all of this wonderful food here in this area. So the farmers market, is very popular in all organic farming around here. The people are very conscious about not using chemicals or pesticides. And they have the one place that I didn't get to, which I really would have loved to, is called the gathering place, where all of the local wineries and the farmers and all they all have, there's a house out in the valley. It's a rustic restaurant where they prepare everything there fresh and daily. And it's a very charming farm, out in the country. And they have these sorts of experiences all around the Willamette Valley.
See, you got it.
Yeah, the Willamette, yes. So yeah, I mean, it's really a lovely, lovely place to live, is what it is. There's only like 60,000 people in the town, and then you have the fields, the farms, and the wineries, and so on. And then you're 45 minutes from the coast. So then you have access to the coastal range and all the many outdoor activities that go there.
It's quality of life, that area.
Exactly. That's what it is. That is what it is.
Clean.
It is a high quality of life.
Yeah.
I really envy the people living there because it's a slower pace, and people are bicycling around and jogging around, and they have lots of nature trails. One of the things I did, which I would highly recommend, is I had a birding guide, Spencer, and he took me to Bald Hill, which is basically a very easily accessed walk that you'll find the locals on, taking their dogs and so on. But it's also a great birding place because it's a meadow. So you get all of the singing birds, the bluebirds, the finches, swallows flitting about, and raptors overhead, lots of bird life. And that is just like a step off of the main road there, very easily accessed. And then he took me to a wildlife refuge, Inley Refuge, which was really a wonderful stop because we were like the only ones there. I mean, we went out on this expansive boardwalk that took us out to ponds and lagoons where they had a lot of bird life, ducks and that sort of thing in that area, herons, bald eagles, and birding blind, and no people. So it was very quiet and still, and you could really immerse yourself in the nature. We met just one other couple there in this huge refuge that's got 12 miles of hiking trails. There was they have a herd of elk in there in the refuge, and as I say, just
That's
peaceful and lovely. and easy to get to. I mean, this region is very easy to enjoy. Pace of it is slow. You don't have anybody barreling down on you to go faster, which is what I experience daily here.
I was going to say you were in a completely opposite. LA
So
versus
nice.
Corvallis
Just the
is a little
pace of
different.
it. And my first stop was the Bodie Cafe, which is walking distance from the Riverwalk. It's like 1 block up from the Riverwalk.
Nice.
And they had all sorts of delicious organic gourmet sandwiches and artisan bakery. And, this was a big hangout for the locals and outdoor patio. Beautiful weather. One thing about Oregon, now you have to be prepared for a little bit of rain now and again. The first day I flew into Portland. Corvallis is 85 miles south of Portland. So I rented a car there and I drove down. And my plan on that day was to go to the 10-mile 10 Waterfalls Trail, which is an hour east of Corvallis. And I really wanted to do that. But my day that I had scheduled to do that, it was pouring. So I just went to Corvallis instead, and I didn't have time to get there. But if I get back to this region, I'm definitely going there because it's a spectacular trail that is moderate. It takes you into 10 it's 10 miles, or maybe you do 5 miles, maybe you wouldn't do it all, but you get to walk behind waterfalls, and it's a temperate rainforest. So the thing about Oregon that I love is it's so lush. It's so vibrant with life.
Don't you feel like a new person?
Southern California, where it's a Mediterranean climate, I just love the richness of it, the water richness of it, Oregon.
And green. Doesn't the green blow you away, just how green?
Right.
It's intoxicating to me.
You do have the rain, but but they're usually short-lived. And then when the sun comes out, it's absolutely dazzling, because now all of the mosses and the sword ferns and the wildflowers and the trees are all dripping with diamonds, dazzling. It's beautiful, I think. And it was about 75. Most of the time I was there, it was about 75 and sunny. I did have that one rainy day coming in, which cut that activity short, but the rest of my time there was gorgeous weather. So, and I was there in May. So it can get warm there in the summer.
Yeah, it can. I mean, that's a really nice shoulder season to go on in May. It's really nice. And I want people to know you have an article up on the National Association of Baby Boomer Women website, and it's linked in the episode notes. So you can read that, detailing all the different places you went. But it sounds like you were seeing gardens, you were seeing birds, and then the food thing was also very farm to table, like you were just mentioning.
Everywhere. In the restaurants, at dinner, I had, what it is a university town, the Oregon State University. So half the population is under 35. Have all this creativity going on, this energy and creativity in the food world there. And I had some very interesting creations for dinner made with vegetables. I mean, it was the most interesting presentation of vegetables. Like broccoli and cauliflower doesn't sound very exotic, but with all these seasonings and things that they did to it, it was delicious. I mean, these kids, these young people are really into, particularly in this region, the healthful lifestyle. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's a very nice place to live. And if you have kids, it would be a really lovely place to bring them up. So my accommodations was the Corbin Bed and Breakfast. And that was about 10 minutes out of town in a forested region, and the B&B was up on a knoll surrounded by towering trees, not eucalyptus. Eucalyptus are too flammable. It wasn't eucalyptus, but at any rate, they had downed all the other trees so that it was sunny, and you had a sunny place in the middle of the forest. And you had birds all around up for birding. This place is fabulous for birding, all of the area, but particularly around the B&B, because she had bird feeders out to draw the birds. And my hostess was just lovely. She prepared me a savory breakfast, a special breakfast every morning, just just designed for me. I mean, it was really, really
Wow.
quite nice. And she was a gourmet cook. And the first day I arrived, she was fixing 22 meals that she delivers to families on this hill, in this forested hill, to families, people who couldn't get out necessarily.
Oh,
So
wow.
she was really a
Person.
very nice person.
Mm.
We went out to dinner a couple of times. She was really a
Yeah.
nice person. And the guests, I rarely saw the guests. The guests were a couple from New Zealand who'd been living there for a month trying to decide if they were going to live there in Corvallis.
Wow. Yeah. It makes sense, though. That kind of,
And
yeah.
he was a bicyclist, and he had just bicycled the 45 miles down to the coast, which is a lot of bicyclists like this region because this coastal scenic byway that goes down to the coast is really quite delightful. It's curvaceous, and there's some dippity-doos, but it's, you've got all the greenery and the creeks running by, and not a lot of traffic, and you can relax. You can drive, you can be a Sunday driver and not have anybody honking at you.
I've done that trail, and then they even have a cycling trail that does the whole coastline, which is just
Right. So
spectacular.
this is like bicyclist heaven here, this region. And the other thing that's really nice about this coastal range in between Corvallis and the Pacific Ocean is that it's not real high altitude. So you don't have to deal with that. You can get out into the forest and hike into remote areas without, like in Colorado, you have to deal with the altitude. And it really is, you don't have, if you're on a short trip, you don't have time to acclimate to the altitude. And you can get you can get sick. So this is nice that you don't have to fight with altitude
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get out, really get out into nature. So one of the really sweet stops on this scenic byway that's on the way to the coast is the thyme garden. Now you go, thyme garden, what is that? Well, what it was and what it is this delightful artistic display of raised beds of every spice and herb you can imagine on the
Wow.
planet. And it's so well manicured. I mean, it's just a creation of art, honestly. And then they had there's a creek that runs through, so you have the trees shading it. They also had some trails you could meander on out into the forest if you had time, which I didn't, but I enjoyed it very much. It was very sweet. They do give tours if you want to learn how to cook with these different spices and so on, herbs. And you can buy the herbs. I just bought some tea, hibiscus tea and some other, things like that. I couldn't be buying live plants, but people do.
On a plane, that's going to be good.
Right. And so the next stop, which is just down the road a piece, is called the Leaping Lamb Farm. Now, this is a very unique experience. This lady, Scotty Jones, bought this land, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago. And she created this magical trail for kids. And I think adults will enjoy it too, but especially kids, because she's created these little elfin cottages in the trees, and so that they can discover where the elves live. And,
This is cool.
yeah, it's really sweet. And then she has lambs, of course, for them to play with. And she had some miniature goats, which were really cute, that jump all over the kids.
Oh.
And there's a little river going through that is, a full tilt river with trout and fish. I mean, I don't know that fishing is legal, but she has an 1895 farmhouse there that she's renovated, of course, and that a family can stay in.
Cool.
Yeah, if you want to have a retreat with your kids and, have them get out and experience nature and, there's chickens and bunnies and, realize, get in tune with where your food is coming from. City
Exactly.
kids are kind of out of touch with real life. So then you can just go for a tour. Scotty will give you a tour through the grounds, and then you can bring a picnic lunch and you can stay and enjoy the grounds. You can do it that way, or you can have a weekend retreat or whatever. But you take a long dirt road down, you're going way into the coastal range. It's very deep into the forest. It's very sequestered, and it's really sweet. It's called the Leaping Lamb Farm. So
That is cute.
that is sweet. It's sweet for family with young kids. It really is. So then very close in that same neck of the woods off of the scenic byway is the road up to Mary's Peak. Now, Mary's Peak is the highest mountain in the coastal range at about 4,000 feet, which is nothing. 4,000 feet, Colorado, there are 15,000
Yeah,
feet.
exactly. Yeah.
So I took this snaking trail up. The road is well maintained. That was fine. And there was very little traffic on it, but you go through the clouds. So you're in a fog scene, wherein you're on this snaking road and you go, wow, for about, I don't know, 5 minutes until you get through the clouds. And then you get up at the top, and it's a vast panoramic view. You can see all the way to the Pacific.
Wow.
And everything in between. And there is a huge hiking trail network up there. And I would think it would be a really fun way to spend the day, but not on the day I was there. It was very blustery and cold. I couldn't believe how, I just wasn't dressed for it, and if you go up there, I think later in the season, or maybe dress for it, it'd be a really nice outing, a really nice day
Yeah.
adventure, but maybe in June or July. So yeah, there was picnic tables and facilities and all of that. But as I say, I was the only one there.
Yeah.
And I
But I
didn't feel comfortable exploring too much on my own up there, out of
Right.
out of the internet and all of that, and being by myself. So I didn't hang around there, but I did stop at a waterfall that I saw on the way up. So it was,
That's
quite a
nice.
pleasant day, and recommending that. So
That's
as
cool.
I say, I think it's just really a sweet place to live, and a very nice place to visit and hang around for a week or so,
We almost moved out there because
Really?
of, years ago. We just, we were living in the mountains, and then, we went through all the wildfires and thought maybe we
Ah,
should, but we'd been there, and Corvallis was still it was smaller than now. And there was a lot of breweries opening up, and all next to Salem, and Salem and Corvallis are really connected, as
right.
destinations. And Salem is known for iris, and that's where a lot of our iris in the country are grown, is in Salem, Oregon. And then you've got Portland with all the roses, and the rhododendrons. I mean, you went a little bit into Portland and everything. You saw like amazing gardens on top of all of this, right? This trip.
Right. So I had kept a day to explore Portland. Portland is a great town, and I really wished I'd had more time to be there. There's really a lot to enjoy in Portland. But if you only have one day, go to Washington Park. You park for free. There's no charge. There's a shuttle that you hop on and off for free. Very nice. You go, and then it takes you to the different stops around this immense park. It kind of reminded me of Balboa Park in San Diego. It's a huge park. So first stop for me was the Japanese garden. And it is probably one of the most phenomenal Japanese gardens in the world. I mean, it's just so elaborate, so lush. And of course, I was at a good blooming time of the year. And so, azaleas and all sorts of things were blooming. And they have, lots of nice trails meandering through the garden. And it is heavily touristed because it's just so beautiful. It costs $20 to get in. That's the only thing in Washington Park that I saw that I had a charge for. But I would say it's worth it. Go to the Japanese gardens. And they have, they have an art display. They have docents if you, choose to do that. But of course, I tend to like to wander around at my own pace because I like to take pictures. So then just across the way from the Japanese garden is the rose garden. And it's an enormous rose garden where they have all sorts of hybrids and experimental roses going on there. And it was just on the border of the blooming. So I had been there prior to this trip though, and May is a little early for the roses. There was some blooming, but I would say June would be the better time to really get the full flush of all those incredible roses blooming at the same time. But what was blooming was the rhododendrons. Oh my God, I'd never seen some of them. They had a giant wall of rhodies. Rhodies were all over the place, and they were so beautiful. Yeah, so spectacular rhodies. So I had a little picnic lunch there in that area, which was really, really nice. And then I hopped back on the shuttle. That's a shuttle stop. Both of those places are on one shuttle stop.
Okay.
But the shuttle takes you all around. There are accesses to the shuttle actually from the city. So some people who were hopping on the shuttle which is free, were coming from places where they had booked rooms in Portland. So, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. But the next stop was the Hoyt Arboretum. And this is a very special place. Miles and miles of trails, once again, through every tree in the world, every kind of tree in the world. I mean, I said, upside down trees, Japanese trees.
Yeah.
They had giant redwood trees. They had every kind of tree you could imagine, and these nice well-groomed meandering trails through there, so definitely worth a stop. And then they had a zoo, which was for kids, and they had a museum and a few other things that I didn't partake in, but that was a full day in Washington Park.
That's awesome.
And I really recommend it. Like I say, if you only have one day in Portland, I mean, that's really great. And then you can pop down into Portland, Maine, and have dinner or whatever. I wanted to go to the Mississippi region, which your friend, one of your guests, I had watched your guests talked about the grotto, which I wanted to get to, which is another lovely
Lisa, yeah,
garden area, more of a meditation Buddhist kind of place. Wanted to get there, but after my full day at Washington Park, I ended up back at my hotel in the saltwater pool.
And then a glass of wine. Come on, get some Willamette wine.
Yeah, ladies.
Did you have Willamette wine? You had to have some.
Yeah, I did, of course. In fact, one of the things that I missed was a tasting at a winery that was, looked very, very, very charming. But I thought they had timed me to have the tasting at 3:00, 3 or 4:00, and I was driving back to Portland that day, and I went, I don't think this is working too good. I mean, it's enough already that I'm in a strange land driving, on my own. I decided not to get tipsy on the way. And it's a good thing because I didn't realize what a metropolis Portland is until I was driving up the 5 and going over this immense, expansive bridge overlooking the Willamette. Willamette, which is a huge river that flows north and goes through Portland as well. So there I was, so it was a big, I did a lot of exploring, was really fun. And I would love to go back to Portland, like I say, and just spend more time there. The Mississippi district was the music district that your guest had described, and I really would have liked to have gone there. On a previous trip, I've been downtown and explored that a little bit, but there's just so much. It's really nice. I like it because it's a pedestrian, it's very nice I won't call it a walking town because it's a big city, but they have these different districts in each district. And so,
I love the different districts because it goes with the history of Portland, and it really goes with the people's history of Portland, the different districts that make it up in the city. And so it's really fascinating. I want to do more to go and learn about that because it's, there's like Italian districts and, Peruvian, South American areas, but some of it goes about, the immigrant history that comes in, and it's also a port town. So when port towns have all the good gossip, man, they do.
Well, on my tour there in Corvallis, the young woman talked a lot about, like I said, she started at the glaciers. So she talked about the native peoples. She talked about the beavers, how the beaver trade had influenced it. And of course, the university, it's go beavers, go beavers are everywhere there.
It's actually part of, I do believe, the Ice Age Trail, which is run through the National Park Service. And it's got to do with those glacial, and that's why the wine is so amazing. If you go from Willamette all the way across east into Washington State, that same glacial and volcanic kind of soil depends on where you are. And Oregon is, I think, a very fascinating, undiscovered state. Like, I really think I know it's busy and everything, but it's still like geologically incredible. Crater Lake, I would love you to go to Crater Lake. You would just jaw drop. This beautiful, I mean, it's the deepest lake, I think, natural lake that we have. And there's a little island out there, but I mean, it is just breathtaking. Yet it's also got a bit of that high desert mode. And then there's hiking in the Willamette National Forest is incredible. And then you go into the central or the desert area, like the high desert, Sun River and all that. Lots of rivers for you. Man, those rivers are crashing. I don't think I'd even trust myself to stick my toe in. But that they have like onyx, like just huge pieces of onyx. And I mean, I cannot even tell you how incredible this volcanic area is of geology. It looks like giant pieces of licorice just on a trail. and it's
Mhm.
amazing.
Dropped by the glaciers,
Mhm.
deposited by the glaciers. Well, I've had several wonderful trips in Oregon. I haven't been to Crater Lake, but the Klamath River is now, they've taken down a dam up there and they've opened up the Klamath. So I'm thinking maybe I might check in with Momentum River Adventures because they hosted me on the Rogue. So I've done the Rogue River, which is a really easy, fun river to do. I took the Redwood Forest highway down to the coast and did in the Redwood Forest, which is a spectacular region. Really, like you have it in Northern California and on the border of Oregon, these beautiful redwood forests, and the last one's remaining. And it's like a temple, it's my idea of church. And then we did one on the coast where I went on up to Brookings. And then on a different trip, I did the Columbia Gorge and I hiked up there, and we went up into Mount Hood and down, I mean, there are really gorgeous areas in Oregon, and it's not overpopulated. I mean, Portland is busy, but by and large, it's pretty, much slower pace than California.
And it's just gorgeous. I mean, the forests out there, I just feel like King Arthur and Merlin lived out in these forests.
Who lives at the Leaping Lamb is Merlin.
Cool.
Want to meet Merlin? Go to Leaping Lamb Farm.
I do. I once wrote a song called Merlin, but anyway, don't get me started on the whole.
There's a tree there that she calls Merlin. Honestly, I'm telling you.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, I might have to go.
You might have to stop in and see Scotty. She's a kick in the head.
Okay. Well, she's got goats. Then
I'm telling you, farm work is hard. I don't envy her that.
You can do goat yoga. I love it. Well, everyone, again, Linda's link is in the episode notes. Also get her book, Lost Angel Unleashed, because you talk about some of these Oregon adventures, right?
That's true.
So you can get that. All the links are in the episode notes, LindaBallewAuthor.com, LostAngelAdventures.com as well. So everything's in the episode notes. And we look forward to next month. We've got a special guest joining you.
Right. Tori, and guess what? In the books, the ranger she works at Crater Lake in Oregon.
See, there you go. That's Tori Eldridge will be
connected. How we get connected here, Lisa.
It's wild. Well, see, John Muir was right. Everything's connected. It really is. That's why we're the blend. It's right. Why stop growing? I try to tell my belly anyway. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next month.
All right, Lisa, take care.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Lost Angel Travel Adventure Show with Linda Ballou, travel writer and author. Keep up with her at LindaBallewAuthor.com and LostAngelAdventures.com. You can also keep up with Big Blend Radio at BigBlendRadio.com. Now, happy traveling.